Welcome to your final exam project for computer apps. I just thought I'd put that exam out there to freak you out a little bit. It's really a project we're going to be doing in class, and for this project what you're going to be doing is you're going to be creating a website on Google Sites. So you'll need to start by just logging in to your grchristian.org email. Once there, up at the top here, you'll notice there's a spot for Sites, so click on Sites. That'll bring you to a window where it'll give you the option to actually create a site. Now, I've actually already started, just briefly, creating a computer apps exam site, just to kind of give you an idea. But if you click Create, you can use a blank template. You can use a template. There's a whole gallery, literally thousands and thousands of different types of, and notice as I scroll down they just keep adding more and more types, so I could keep scrolling down for a while. Let's see, go to schools and education. This is maybe a good spot to show an example, but as I scroll down, you see more and more and more types of templates that I could use, and literally the list goes on forever. Notice again as I go, more and more options. You can choose one of those if you want. You can always choose one of those later, so I'd just start with a blank template, and then I'd give it a name. This is going to be a website. This is your personal website, so you might want to just call it by your name. You might call it well, don't call it the Tim Stapert, because that's my name, not yours. But give it a name, give it anything. Remember, this is a website that you could use for a resume, for future employers, or for colleges, etc. So give your site a name. You have to select a theme, again, a color theme. Again, these are all things that we can change later, so don't feel locked in. Don't spend forever trying to find the perfect theme or the perfect template. In fact, I'd suggest not using a template, although if you want to play around with that a little bit, go ahead. Once you've done that, you'll have the beginnings of a website. Now, I've actually already added a couple things onto my website, but your first thing is you're going to have this home page, and it's probably going to say, where mine says Tim Stapert, yours is probably going to say Home. Our main tool, if we want to edit anything on this page right here, we're going to come up here and click Edit Page, or you can just hit E. That's the shortcut, and that loads this editor. And now we're able to actually edit things. So you can change the name from Home to Tim Stapert or whatever. You can change the layout if you want to just, I think the default is going to be just one simple one column, but you might want things in multiple columns. You might want, there are all these different layouts that you can choose from. Unfortunately, they're not unlimited, the number of choices you have. I'm going to delete this for the moment. And you can edit the text. You can add I said one of the things that you should have is a email link for yourself. Just so that you're clear on how you do that, this is, I could say click here to email me, and I can change this here into a hyperlink. We've done this before, this little link up here. Change that into a link, and if you want it to default to a mail program, you just say mail to : and then put your email in there. So tstapert@grchristian. And yeah, I normally check this little box to open links in a new window. But now notice my little word here is now actually a link that somebody could click on. And let me click save here a second so we can save these changes. And now somebody can click here and it will open up the mail client in a second. It's going, there it goes, and it's going to open up a new mail message for somebody to email me. I'm not actually going to email myself. But again, if we when we're in this editing page, we can make changes to our text, blah, blah, blah. We can insert images. We can insert links. It's actually a little more efficient to do the links over here. You can insert a whole bunch of different gadgets. And just because it's kind of cool, and I'll show you, there are tons of these gadgets, and theoretically you could even create some of these gadgets. Like I could even put a Pac-Man game into my web page here. I can do an inflation calculator. These are a whole bunch of little gadgets that were, as it says, that were developed by Google users. Some of them work well, some of them don't work so well, but you know, if it fits, feel free to put something like that in there. Some of the other things that you can insert, and actually this is what I had in before I deleted it. Actually, I'm going to change my layout one more time to, I think this is what I had before. So over here I inserted, you can actually insert a document directly from your Google Docs. So I've got a ton of Google Docs, obviously. The one that I wanted was my favorite YouTube video one, so I'm going to click on that. And I can insert it. I can assign the height if I want to make it smaller. Kind of remember that from processing. I can include the title. I could change the title. YouTube. I don't know. I can have a border or not have a border. Again, all these things we can edit later. And right now it'll show up as this little box that we can't see anything in. But when we click Save Changes, now you'll see my little document nicely in my web page. And it's got a whole bunch of links to a whole bunch of YouTube videos that I like. That's one way you could use that insert a document, because one of your requirements is to insert a document, insert a presentation. The other way you can, of course, do these things would be, I'm going to actually just delete this out of here for now, is our favorite HTML. Remember, if you've got a Prezi or you're going to need to actually embed your processing sketch. So if you were at openprocessing.org, so here's a ton of ours. I'm going to click on mine. Here's my bouncing ball. Remember, over here we have this embedding code, and again, this is that HTML code, so I can copy that. I can go back to my website and I can click on the HTML here, and I'm just going to delete that out and put my HTML code in. So I copied and pasted it, click update, and now it's got a Google gadget. And when I click save, now I should have my little bouncing ball, noticed by Mr. Stapert, licensed, and I can play with it. Yay, how fun. So again, we're going to use this to put things onto our web page. You're going to actually be putting your own sketches on there so people can see some of the stuff that you've built. But it's not all going to go just on this main homepage. In fact, the main homepage should be fairly just a short little introduction to what this whole website is. It shouldn't have all the information on there. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to be adding new pages. So up here next to that edit, you click on New Page. And one of your pages was personal info. I already did that one, so I'm going to put the page under Tim Stapert, and I'm going to call this next one Hobbies. Again, I can change these pages if I want to. So I create the page, and now I've got, notice on the left-hand side here, I got my home page, that Tim Stapert, and I've got Hobbies, and I've got a personal information page. And in the end, you're going to have 3 of those different pages. And just like my main page, I can change the layout. I can change what things show up down here. Right now it's showing up with attachments and comments, which I don't really want. So click Save. You're going to be clicking save so many times. But I can go and change my my page template. Oops, that's not the one I wanted. Let me try again. I want to say... Oh, one thing that I should point out here while I'm struggling to find what I'm actually looking for is this preview page as viewer. If you want to quickly see what your web page looks like to somebody else who is visiting without all of this stuff up at the top here, you can click on that preview page as viewer. Page settings. This is where we get to get rid of those attachments and those comments. So click on page settings. Unless you want people to be able to upload things to your site or you want people to be able to leave comments, you probably want those unchecked. I also uncheck that show links to show links to sub pages, and I generally save that there. Hopefully this is enough to at least get you started. Trying to think what other things. Oh, one thing you might want to change is your sharing in your permission. You probably want it just to be to people at Grand Rapids Christian Schools can find and access it. You probably don't want it to be public, but maybe you do. If you want it to be public, then change it to public. And you probably want to make sure this edit access is unchecked. You don't want just anybody at our school to be able to edit yours. Also under this manage site, I told you before, if you're looking for changing your themes, changing your background color, or you want to put an image in there, you want to change your title color, your title font for all of these things, or if you just want to go ahead and add a new theme. And again, you can even add, by clicking Browse More Themes, you can add those templates that we ignored earlier. So again, you can constantly change this, but I'm going to recommend, at least for the start, you start with something fairly simple, and don't spend too much time just trying to play around with these different themes, but make sure you get everything that you need to onto the website.